Hashem, chapter 9, verse 15, Parshas Behaalotecha. Very beautiful passages coming up. Okay, so Asher, please read for us.
Ubiyom hakim es hamishkan, kisaha nan es hamishkan lo edas ve'erev yeh al hamishkan kimare esh ad boker.
Okay, so on the day the Mishkan was built, the cloud covered the Mishkan. That was a tent for the edus. The edus is what's the edus? The edut. What is that? That's the luchos. So on the day the Mishkan was built, the cloud covered the Mishkan for the Oa edus. In the evening, Yal Mishkan, it will be on the Mishkan, will be like a fire, like a fiery appearance until the morning. Rashi says, Mishkan hasoy liyot oel luchot edus. The Mishkan was made to be a tent for the tablets. So the whole purpose of the Mishkan, the main purpose, was to be a tent for the tablets, for the Ten Commandments. Yal Mishkan. Okay, Rashi goes into that. Okay, keep going, Asher. So it would always be. Kenya Tamid had non yachasanu, the cloud will cover it during the day, and a fiery appearance at night. Go on.
Ufi hey alos ha'enan me'al ha'ohel ve'achver ken yisu b'nei Yisrael u'makom asher yishkan sham hanan sham yachanu b'nei Yisrael.
So this is a very deep passage. It says, according to where the cloud went up from above the tent, and afterwards, when the cloud went up from the tent, then the children of Israel would travel, and the place where it settled, the cloud, there they would camp. So that means to say the Bnei Israel never had any ambiguity about when to go somewhere or where to go. If you imagine a life where you didn't have any ambiguity, a lot of people in our lives, we have this crossroads. We don't know when to go or where to go. But in this case, the cloud would tell them exactly what to do. Says Rashi, istalkus v'chein v'naweh anan. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
There were about 48 times that the Mishkan was traveled.
42 times.
42 times. Is there any indication of what would prompt the desire or the effort by God to say you have to move elsewhere 42 times? Like, is it bad, good? Any triggering event? I never read anything as to what.
It's some of the events. We know that for some of the travels, it was after a war that they went back. That's what Rashi tells us. But generally speaking, we don't know.
So it wasn't a human decision, it was God's decision when the cloud lifted.
Yeah, there was never a human decision.
And it was the average once a year, I mean, in terms of the duration of it.
Well, they were in the wilderness for 40 years, but it wasn't like that. Yeah, they were in one place for many years. That's what Rashi says at the beginning of Parashas Maseh. Rashi says to show us that it wasn't as bad as it seemed. We weren't traveling every 2 weeks. Okay, read the next pasuk. Wow. So happy you're here. So good to see you, Kobe. Makes me so happy.
You as well.
I would have liked it if you texted me, but I'm happy you came. All right, Baruch Hashem. All right, Judah and Norai, come on in. Kobe, you look over there in the corner. And also, if anybody didn't put the tefillin on yet today, you should quickly go put the tefillin on. It's a big mitzvah to put on the tefillin. All right. Yeah, it's a big mitzvah to put on the tefillin. I want to make sure that every yid puts on the tefillin every day. Okay, so even though it's important to study Torah, you got to put on the tefillin. Right, Asher? Okay, go on, read the next. By the way, you put them on for a few minutes and then come back here. All of a sudden, you don't have to turn into like all of a sudden you're down for like the Lubavitcher Rebbe. No, we go on.
Al pi Hashem yisu b'nei Yisrael ve'al pi Hashem yachanu koyim asher yishkan hanan al Mishkan yachanu.
On the basis of God, they would travel. On the basis of God, they will camp. All the days that the cloud dwelt on the Mishkan, they would camp. That's what Rashi says. Al pi Hashem yachanu, shaninu b'melechas hamishkan. We learned in this work called Melechas hamishkan that was like a brisa. Once the children of Israel would travel, the cloud would fold up. V'nimshach agabe b'nei Yehuda. And it would extend over the children of Judah like a kamin korah, like a beam. They would shaku, they would blast the shofar. They real. They would do long blasts and short blasts. And the cloud would not go until Moshe would say, Kuma Hashem. V'nasa degel machne Yehuda. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on 1 second. So this is how they did the traveling. Keep past that box of tissues, John. This is how they did the traveling. No, it's good. On the basis of God, they would camp. Once the Bnei Israel be encamped, the pillar of cloud would rise straight up. So when they were supposed to travel, the cloud would look like a beam. Beam me up, Scotty. And when they were supposed to camp, it would be shaped like a shelter. And it would not spread out. What?
Would they follow? Would the cloud go along with them?
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
Well, it means that it would show the path to the next location. Okay.
Well, you're right. The cloud, it says.
It's up and down. It's up where to go.
You're right. You're correct that according to here, it's a little bit ambiguous. It doesn't say. But we do know that they would travel,
right? So
and it wouldn't say to stop until the cloud until God said to camp. So
okay, that's an assumption.
But they had to find the place.
Otherwise, how would they know where to go?
How would they know which direction?
Exactly.
But this was like before there was Waze, there was the cloud. Before there was the cloud, we had the ultimate cloud. Yeah. Okay, go on. Yeah.
Doesn't Shemot say that they would follow the angel of Hashem?
So that says when they got into the land of Israel, there would be an angel of God right in front of them. And also Shemot says that there was a cloud walking before them. But it wasn't clear from that context to me whether that was only up until they got to the Yam Suf or even in the wilderness. But you're correct that the implication is that every step they took, they were preceded by either a cloud or an angel. Until Moshe said, Shuva Hashem, Revavos Alpha Yisrael. Until Moshe said, rest Hashem amongst the myriad thousands of Israel.
Rabbi, to continue the answer to that question, Moshe asked Hashem to lead us directly. It was one of the negotiations after the golden calf where he said, I don't want an angel. It's very nice of you to offer, but we don't want that distance. We want the closeness that we felt with you before. And yes, we messed up, but we want you to continue to lead us directly.
So very nice, very nice.
It looks like he did change his mind because Al Pi Hashem means without the angel. Well, I can't say Hashem changed his mind, but that's what it implies, I guess.
Okay. So now Asher, please read.
Okay,
and when the cloud was over the Mishkan for many days, then the Bnei Israel would guard Hashem, Mishmeres Hashem, they would maintain the watch of God. Well, you saw they wouldn't travel. You keep going.
ויש אשר יהיה הענן ימים מספר על המשכן על פי השם יחנו ועל פי השם ייסעו.
And so Rashi says here the word v'yesh means sometimes, pa'amim. So sometimes the cloud will be there on the Mishkan several days, just a few days, and that's how they would decide to camp or to travel. Go on.
ויש אשר יהיה הענן מערב עד בוקר ונעלה הענן בבוקר ונסעו, או יומם ולילה ונעלה הענן ונסעו.
Right, so sometimes it'll just be there a day or night. Okay, go on.
או ימים או חודש, או ימים בערייך הענן על המשכן, לשכון עליו יחנו בני ישראל, לא ייסעו ולא ייסעו.
Right, sometimes it'll be there longer, but the basic thing that I want to show you here is a very important Rashi. What does the word yamim mean? What does yamim mean?
Weeks.
So what does yamim mean?
Days normally.
So in the Tanakh, it means a year. Rashi says, "Oh yamim." This is not the only time he says it. He also says it here. The footnote points out. He says it in also Parshas Bahar. He says it a couple of times in Rashi, but he says that the word yamim means shana. Yamim tiyegua. So yamim does not mean days; it means a year. In modern Hebrew, you say kama yamim means a few days, but in the Bible, o yamim means a year.
And Chayesara.
Yeah, Max said Chaisar. Very nice. Al pi Hashem.
על פי השם יחנו ועל פי השם ייסעו, את משמרת השם, שמר על פי השם ביד משה.
Right, on the basis of God they would camp, on the basis of God they would travel. It's Mismer Hashem, the watch of God they would guard. Al pi Hashem biyad Moshe. Okay, so now we go on to the next paragraph. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe lemar. Okay, chapter 10, verse 2. So now this is very important. What do we get? Answer.
דבר השם משה לאמר, עשה לך שתי חצוצרות, כסף מקשה תעשה אותם, והיו לך למקרא העדה ולמעשה אס המחנות.
So you should make 2 trumpets of silver. Miksha, beaten out, means to say that you don't take different parts of silver and meld them together. You take a block of silver and knock out the trumpet from the block, and that will be for you to call the community together and to travel. Umasas amachanos, and to travel. So let's see. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So Aseh lecha. Let's look at what Rashi says. This is make for yourself shu token lefanecha, kemelech. They should blast on the trumpets before you like they do for a king. So Rashi is basically saying that Moshe Rabbeinu was like a king here. So you shall make for yourself trumpets.
Wait, what Rashi is this?
Rashi chapter 10 verse 2. It might not be in yours because so I'll read it. Aseh lecha shiu token lefanecha. Make for yourself the trumpets. Why does it say aseh lecha? It should just say aseh shtei chatzos kesef. Just make 2 trumpets of silver. Why does it say make for yourself? So the trumpets are for Moshe, that they'll blast the trumpets before you like they do before a king. As it says, Vayi b'shur and merach. So this is a proof, Rashi says, Moshe is like a king. Aseh lecha.
At that time, we don't think kings were authorized, right? That's a later development. No, it's not like a king. I thought there's a real issue with it. Whoever part of it.
Moshe, the Gemara Rosh Hashanah tells us Moshe was like the king. He had authority of a king. But the problem is, one of the big identifiers of a king is that they have hereditary rule. Moshe's children did not take over from him. But the Gemara considers him to be like a king. You have the place, Kobe? Chapter 10, verse, what page is it, Asher?
787.
You have to use your own money. These are only for Moshe to use, nobody else. So Moshe was supposed to be the one that he used these silver trumpets to call everybody in, and also when people were supposed to travel. So it was Moshe's job to call people together. He had to know how to blow the trumpet. So Moshe was a musician. He had to know how to blow the trumpet. It's not so easy to blow the trumpet. Okay, Lumikroida. What do you mean to summon the people? When you want to speak to the Sanhedrin or the rest of the people, you want to summons them, you shall call them by a trumpet. Where does Moshe speak to the Sanhedrin? Doesn't really say directly that he spoke to them. He appointed them, but it never says that Moshe gathered them to talk to them.
What? Wasn't it taught down? Like
What?
Moshe would teach Aaron, then Aaron would teach.
Yeah, but so where did Moshe gather the Sanhedrin? Okay, so now keep going.
Wait, there wasn't like a base medrash or something? Like it isn't that.
Although this is princes. 100% here. Footnote.
I have here, it says here, the Sanhedrin.
Prince.
Oh, so, right, so they changed the text of Rashi to say the princes. Okay, so that makes more sense.
Yeah, we knew, we were to talk about princes.
Okay, Colby, you want to read the next pasuk?
Yes.
Chapter 10, verse 3, Gimel. Go on. V'taku bahen.
I do. Oh, Aida, El, Oil,
Right, so you'll blast the shofar and they'll come to you, the entire congregation, towards the entrance of the tent. So these are the different signs. Now, I mean, like, what's the purpose of this passage really being in the Torah is what we want to. Okay, so Moshe had a communications method, and he would blow the trumpets. Like, do we really need to know? And then the text says, "V'im ba'achas yitkau," if he blows once, then the Nisiim are supposed to come. Tkatim trua, if you blast a trua, then the V'nasa machanos achonim kema, then the camp that camps east. If you blast another trua, the southern ones. So why do we need to know the order of the travel? And then it says about when you gather everybody, blast it without the trua, just the tkiya. Ubnei Aaron kohanim yitka'u b'chatzotzros, and when the kohanim blast on the trumpets, that's a law that for future generations the Kohanim have to blast the shofar. And now we say, so what's the reason for that? Why we need to know this?
Moses would die at some point.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what's the difference what the code is to call people? I mean, if it's 2 trumpets for this one or 1 trumpet for.
Make sure the person blowing the trumpet has the authority to do so.
So it's a technical reason, not a spiritual reason, just a technical. That's maybe a little too lawyerly.
Well, we knew at some point that
Yeah.
it's going to be gone, so he wants to make it clear who picks up the.
So they have a system in place to take over. But then the pasuk test is the key here. Read pasuk test here, Asher.
לפי תבואו מלחמה בארצכם, על הצר הצורר אתכם, והריוסם בחצרוס, ונזכרתם לפני השם אלוקיכם, ונושעתם מאויביכם.
וכי תבואו מלחמה, when a war will come into your land, al tzar tzorer etchem, because there's an enemy attacking you, v'ariotem bechatzotros, you shall blast the trumpets, v'nizkartem lefnei Hashem elokechem, v'noshatem me'oivechem. So when do you blast the trumpets? When you're in distress, when there's a war, when your enemy's coming, you blast the trumpets, and you'll remember before God, and you'll be safe from your enemies. Interesting to me, this is like the most powerful verse in this whole paragraph, but Rashi doesn't comment on it. And you start thinking about the shofar, what's the reason why we blast it? When there's distress in your camp, you have to blast the shofar. When you're in distress, when you're in a tremendous need, you have to blast the shofar. But then there's also the opposite. Aaron, you want to read the next pasuk? Yud? Yeah. Okay, and also when there is on your day of your rejoicing, your festivals, your holy days, your Rosh Chodesh, you shall blast the trumpets for your Olaf and your Zevach. I am Hashem your God. So look at the Rashi here. Al Sechem. This refers to communal offerings. So in the base of Mikdash, they will blast the trumpets on Rosh Chodesh. And then the next Rashi, I am Hashem your God. Bikan lamanu. From here we learned Malchios im Zichronos v'Shofros. From here we learn the idea that you're supposed to blow the shofar at the three sections of Musaf on Rosh Hashanah, which are known as Malchios, Zichronos, and Shofros. Kings, remembrances, and shofars. As it says, Usikatem, you shall sound. Hare Shofros, there you have shofars. Zikaron, for remembrance, there you have remembrances. Ani Hashem, Zu Malchios. So now we see why we blast the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. We blast the shofar on Rosh Hashanah because it says here you're supposed to make a sound on your festivals and your Rosh Chodesh, even though it says you're supposed to blow the shofar to katim mechatzos, and we don't blow it on trumpets in Rosh Hashanah, we blow it with a shofar, but it's the same idea. And also, when you're in distress, I did see that before a lot of Tzahal goes into battle now, they're blowing the shofar often. Did anybody else see that? What? Yeah.
IDF has done that?
Yeah.
Really?
Because it's a spiritual sound.
And probably the most famous one was in 67 with Rav Goren blowing the shofar at the Kotel after freeing the Kotel after 19 years.
But there was not going into battle. That was
Yeah.
So why did he blow the shofar then?
To express the happiness, but it was the battles were still going on. It was just it was in the middle. He specifically asked to go in the first command car so he could be at the Kotel when it's released, or freed.
And he didn't say. There's a famous picture of them looking at the Kotel with their helmets off. But when they liberated the Kotel, do you know what they said? They didn't say we've captured the Kotel. What did they say? Har habayit biyadenu. This Temple Mount is in our hands. They didn't say the Kotel biyadenu. They said Har habayit biyadenu. And then Rabbi Goren, what did he want to do then? He said, let's blow up the mosque.
Oh,
He said, yeah. So he said right then, he said, let's blow up the Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock. And Moshe Dayan said no.
he was smart. The trigger yet a new war.
There was already a war.
Yeah, well, okay.
Super war.
That would not be, would give them
What?
Just a super war.
Yeah. I mean, there was already a war. What are we going to do?
They succeeded.
I'm not saying they should do that, but that basically created Israeli policy for the next 60 years, or almost 60 years, was leave the Muslims sovereign to the Temple Mount. Muslims have sovereignty. We've still been fighting over it. If they had brought it down, then that would have been maybe something that wouldn't have been a point of tension. We don't know what would have been, but
I think it was a wise decision. Even
most people probably do, but you never know. He left it up because Moshe Dayan said leave it up. But he tried to take it down.
Rabbi Gore.
Yeah, he tried to take it down then.
Ready.
I mean, aside from the fact that
There are 1 billion Muslims around. We've only alienated 10, maybe 30 billion, 30 million.
probably more.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on. I mean, whatever. He didn't do it. It's history at this point. But if there was ever a time that it would get done, now is the time, because this Secretary of Defense, the current Secretary of Defense, they gave him a tour of the Temple Mount around 5 years ago, and he said, "This is on video." He said, "Why don't we just rebuild a temple?" And that's what the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said. Why don't we just rebuild a temple? What's the big deal?
Okay.
So that's out there. Okay, so let's do the next.
When I first went there in '83,
Yeah.
and you could go there easily.
Then you could go there easily. Then they limited it. But now it's pretty. I think it's pretty easy to go again. Okay, Asher, please read.
ויהי בשנה השני לחודש השני בעשרים בחודש נעלה הענן מעל משכן העדס.
Right. So it was in the second year, B'chodesh Hasheni, in the second month. So we're in Iyar on the 24th day of the month. Then the cloud lifted from on top of the Mishkan. So now they're going to travel. So how many days were they at Har Sinai? Rashi tells us, Nimtzas Hatalmer, Shnei Masar Chodesh, Chasar Asar Yamim Asu B'chorv. They're at Sinai for 12 months minus 10 days. Because on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, they camped there. V'lo so ad Esrim B'Iyar B'Shana Haba. So they were there from Sivan until the 20th of Iyar. So and then they traveled. Okay, go on.
ויסעו בני ישראל למעשיהם במדבר סיני וישכן הענן במדבר פרן.
Right. So the children of Israel traveled from their journeys to Midbar Sinai, and they camped in the Paran wilderness. Rashi says, "L'maaseyem k'mishpat hamefurash." According to the law, which we had just said, how they're supposed to travel. What was in Midbar Paran? Kivrot HaTava b'Midbar Paranaya. There was the Kivrot HaTava. What's Kivrot HaTava? We're going to get to that later on. And Midbar Paran, and there, that's where they camped. All right, we'll stop here to daven mincha now. Baruch Hashem.